And welcome everybody to Empowered Soul Network. What an incredible day it was. The Mercury retrograde, there's an eclipse coming in 3 days that everybody's jazzing up and flying all over the world from to Texas and the swath through the United States. And we are here live with a very special guest, Sandra I've known for quite some time actually. And just want to welcome Crystal Kellogg, and she is calling in from Manhattan, New York City, 116th Street.
Hello
Welcome,
there.
Crystal.
Thank you.
Well, we wanted to take some time with Crystal because she has had an incredible journey in the performing arts, musical theater. She started out in New York, and I can't remember, Crystal, what the year was, 2006 or
Hi.
2005, and has just made a wonderful career on Broadway, sang the Star Spangled Banner at Yankee Stadium in front of 35,000 people. She was on the big giant jumbotron. We were all screaming from the box seats, and just an amazing career. We wanted to ask her to share a little bit about her inspiration to that and following the dream. So, Crystal, just start, and Zana and I are going to do questions back and forth, but Crystal, share with us what's been the inspiration of the last almost 20 years now.
Well, I think I think the people that I'm talking to right now probably are a huge inspiration for me as to why I ended up doing this. Um, you know, Paul is my dad, Sandra is my sister. Let's just put it out there. But we've always kind of been a family that loved music and theater. And growing up, I mean, Susan, our mom, was playing guitar the whole time, and they were both sang all the time to us, and really kind of got us singing. So we grew up just singing and singing even in diapers, which those stories love to be told in inappropriate moments. But, yeah, it's just kind of been in our blood, I think, and in our kind of essence. I think I came in as a musical person, and just followed that. I think it's just something that I've just always followed, my passion for it and just the love of that. And then I remember the theater part of it, seeing Sandra and our sister Sarah. That's the memory that I have, is seeing them going to performing arts school for a little bit. And I think Sarah was in a production of Alice in Wonderland. Yeah. And Huckleberry Finn. I remember that one too. That was Sandra. And just like seeing them up on stage and being like, I want to do that. Like that looks like so much fun. And that's kind of what propelled me into just going for it, just the fun of it. And once I started doing, I think you would say my first performance was in kindergarten, when
Preschool.
preschool. I was told this, I don't actually remember this, but I was told that in preschool, we were doing this recital, and one of the girls who had a solo got stage fright. And so, the teacher's back there kind of panicking, and she's like, well, who else knows this? And I guess I raised my hand. So next thing you know, my parents are watching me from the audience, not knowing I'm going to go on, and then I'm just there singing. Um, so yeah, that would, I guess, be my first theatrical performance. But since I've been on stage, it's kind of felt, I don't know, I kind of felt like home a little bit. It just feels like the ultimate expression for me.
Sandra, what is coming to you?
Yeah. No, it's funny you said that at the very end, the ultimate expression. Like, can you elaborate on that? What do you mean by that?
I grew up kind of around a lot of people with a lot of opinions. And not just family, just a lot of people with a lot of opinions. And I don't know if mine were heard very often. And that's how I felt. And so being on stage, there was a freedom of that. Like there was a freedom of being able to in a way, like express myself through someone else's story. And I just really liked it. It just like allowed me to, step outside of my own kind of world and enter someone else's and think about, I just think it's always fascinating how, these stories that we tell as artists, we have to make real for ourselves so that the audience that we're sharing it with are impacted by it, that they get something out of it. Like if I don't feel it, someone else is not going to feel it. So that's been really enjoyable for me.
Yeah, so Crystal, this network, Empowered Soul Network, I'm so glad you shared that because it reminds me that everyone here that's been talking to us has a story, and it's a
Mhm.
beautiful story, and they could literally probably make a stage play or a musical from every single person's story that we
Mhm.
have talked about, and writing the book or whatever that might be. So, what have you found are some of the keys of your journey in all that? Because I know there's been challenges. I mean, hearing no a lot, because you don't get a part, all those kinds of things, having to feel your story and so people connect. What have been the challenges that you found and maybe some hints about that?
I mean, I think first off, it's been a big test of my own resilience, and my own passion and my own perseverance. Because as there's something about being able to play other people, even though I bring myself to it as well, that is freedom for me, which I may not feel as comfortable as Crystal. And so I think there's a part of that too. And the rejection's hard. Um, it's always been hard, I think. And so there's always been like ups and downs. Um, and the thing that has kind of gotten me through a lot of that has been my passion for this. Like I don't think I would continue to do it because I've chosen a really hard career. One that's unpredictable, that's not stable, that I'm basically unemployed every couple months. Like it's a hard thing to do. So if I didn't have a really true passion for it, I don't know if I would have continued as long as I have and done the things that I've done.
Hmm.
Barbara?
What do you feel, how have you grown over the years? Like think about that young girl, fresh off the boat kind of feeling as you drop yourself into New York, and then where you are now. What has shifted for you in that process, in your professional process even?
Yeah. I think, hmm, I think for the most part, I've stopped trying to be what other people want me to be. I found myself, there was a story that it reminds me of when I was doing a tour of the pajama game. It was one of my first like kind of big tours for myself and big jobs that I got. And the casting director he was like an in-house casting director. So he was there for rehearsals and all that stuff too. And I remember him telling me on a break in rehearsal, he's like, I thought that you were going to be this girl that was like afraid to like break a nail or all of this kind of like prissy stuff. And he's like, you're not like that. And it just made me think, how am I presenting myself in this audition? And I realized that I was trying to be what I thought they wanted me to be, or I was trying to be this like people pleaser. Like, like have a good like you show up and you have a good attitude and you always smile the whole time, like, you know, they'll think higher of you than if you're just real and if you're just authentic. And so I think that sort of changed my mind a little bit as far as how I approach auditions, because they don't want you to be like that. They want to see you and they want to see how unique you are and how what you bring to the table. And so since I think from the like when I first moved to New York, I mean, I moved to New York not pretty much not ever having been here. I mean, I was here when I was 5 or 6 for like a vacation, but since other than that, it just was New York is where I felt like I needed to go. And and so I was learning everything. I learned the hard way by trial and error, like how to audition and and where to look to find those auditions and all that stuff. Really just that kind of hustle and the pounding the pavement, it was a real thing. Um, but as I learned that, I started really learning, and as I got older too, and a little bit more experience, like just relax, like, you know, just have fun. It sounds so easy. And people say, like, just be yourself. It's actually hard to be yourself. It is. Um, and it sounds so easy, but it is also hard when you have these people you want to impress. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. Like you're trying to impress people, but that's actually holding back your like true self. So I think I've learned that. I've also I've learned the business side of it, which was important for me to learn. But then I also had to learn to let the business side go and like get back to the creativity, get back to the expression and why I ended up doing this in the first place. Because sometimes that passion project can lead into just needing the job. And so there comes less fun with that. And so that's been something I've learned too.
So, one of the things also, Crystal, that I recall and have seen is you have found help. You have a terrific voice coach. You now have a manager and an agent, and right from the very beginning, at University of New Mexico, your musical theater professor inspired you to try out for something you didn't even think that you could go do. And it turned into your first really big major gig, and in some ways set it up for you to actually go to New York.
You
Can you
talking about
talk about, see what?
West Side Story?
Yeah, West Side Story. And you
Yeah.
had professional dancers coming from New York and you connected with them. And can you talk a little bit about asking for help and finding the right kind of help? And how do you find that right help? What's worked for you? What are some hints about that?
I think it's a lot about having an affinity for someone, because you're not going to have an affinity for everybody. Like, I definitely, there were professors in school that I didn't connect with. And so the ones that I did, I found that there was this kind of like a camaraderie. I really enjoyed learning from them. I really respected them and valued them, and found that they gave me that back. And so that was really important for me, I think, because that's what created, I think, that bond and that respect for each other. Because I really like wanted to learn more from them then, and trusted them. And so that was like that college professor who I still adore, I still love, I still think is probably one of the best acting teachers I've ever had. And then when I got to New York, I tried a couple different voice teachers, and some didn't really gel with me, or I didn't at that time I didn't really understand what they were talking about. So, then I tried somebody else and just kind of went off of recommendations from friends that I trusted, and valued their opinions. And so I think it's really kind of a trial and error thing. Like, again, it goes back to some of those things that I learned kind of from like what Sandra was saying from the beginning to now, that I don't need to like everybody and I don't need to be liked by everybody. Like I don't have to, there's this pressure I think I felt at some point that I have to, on every job that I do, make friends with every single person. Doesn't mean that I don't have to, I gotta be nice. Like, like I'm able to be friendly with everybody and have a great working relationship. But like those core people, that are going to stick around for a long time, those are the ones that I think I value the most and that matter to me the most. And so I kind of just found them through that.
Speaking of friendship, how would you define that energy of what friendship is to you? What those core, that core values are?
Um, the first thought that comes to my mind is low maintenance. Like, there's just those people that that they don't expect a lot. They don't expect from you. I'm not even gonna say a lot. They just they don't expect from you, and you don't expect from them, and you just kind of meet each other where you're at. And it really is. There's just like I have a really great friend out in LA, and we met on a tour, and we probably talk maybe less than 10 times a year, I'd say. But it's like when we talk, there's no time that has passed. It's like it's that kind of friend. It's just you just see each other where you're at. There's no judgment. There's no like any other feelings but love, really. Yeah.
You know, Crystal, you were talking about attracting the help and so on. And I know a lot of people that they are in the midst of, they need to make a decision, go this path, go this path. Sometimes that's a lot of angst there for them to be able to do that. And um, you've always been, from my awareness, pretty successful at finding the right, doing the right, picking the right choice. Because here now you've got these two different opportunities. They both could be good. Which one do you have any sense for how people could trust their decision making in all these opportunities? How do you do that?
I think if I'm in my head too much, it's harder. Um, Again, this great friend in LA, she told me once, because I had this situation happen and I was talking to her about it. And she says, "What does your body tell you?" And so I thought about one part of that. And immediately, like, because I was like all angsty and like there was this tightness in my chest, and I was just like, I don't know. And she's like, "Okay, that's one part. Now think about this other option." And immediately my body relaxed. And I knew that was the right answer. Like, it's
Beautiful.
that kind of thing. It's trusting yourself. Your body is going to tell you what's the right choice.
So tagging on to that, you share with me, you know, last year you got the opportunity to play the featured character in Cabaret,
Yeah.
Sally Bowles, and if anybody's seen that movie, Eliza Minnelli made it very famous. A very world famous from, you know, a few decades ago. But you were sharing about how free you felt doing that character. Can you share that? Because there's a real lesson in that of why you got that character and what a difference it made for you. Share a little bit about that story.
I think Sally Bowles. Now, I would say the theatrical production is much different than the Liza Minnelli movie.
Right.
So if you have a production or in your area, please go see it, because it's heightened, I would say, at least. It was freeing for me because she's so free. Like, she's she's kooky, she's quirky, she's this character that just is like no barriers, no limits. Like, and she kind of lives in her own la la land too. Like, and so it was fun to play her because she goes through this entire gamut of emotion, where she's silly and she's sexy and she's happy and she's no filter, and then she starts facing reality a little bit and her own kind of inner demons. And so being able to play that was a challenge, but then at the same time, like, was kind of a culmination of like all the stuff of why I got into this in the first place was freedom of expression. Like she went through all of them. And so it was really fun to play, to just let myself go there, to be ugly, to be imperfect, to be, honestly, that is freedom. It's just like, just in a way, it was like I was just being myself in that. And that's her character and that storyline allowed that to happen.
And you shared also,
It's one of my favorite roles that I've ever done. It was awesome.
and you've done so many show tunes at Disney parks, and you're telling me how there's the expectation that Cinderella is going to sing this way, and so actually it was not free, even though it was fun. There was a certain container that you
Yeah.
always had to be in, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely played a bunch of different roles. This one, I decided not to look a lot of things up. You know, I worked on, when I auditioned for it, I worked on it with a friend and really just kind of found where I thought that she would be at. And tapped into those, and how not just what the words in the words in the page are there as a like kind of guideline, I think, for then you're filling in all of the feeling part of that. And so I'm thinking, okay, how would I feel if I'm in this situation? You know, and just kind of let that drive me. And so it was important for me not to have a lot of other examples of that. So I didn't, you know, could be free in expressing how I wanted to do it.
Sandra?
I just,
Sorry.
I'm just listening to all of your,
My dog. Hold on.
she wants to participate.
Yes.
She says, this feels good. What are we talking about?
Mhm. Sorry.
That's okay. So you're taking us on this journey, and obviously we're in Empowered Soul Network,
Mhm.
and you're talking about this feeling to me. That's what I hear of empowerment. How else would you describe that for yourself? What is the empowered crystal feel like?
I think it's when I'm honestly being in like just my true feelings and not, and you know, it's I think we all kind of deal with this comparison, this imposter syndrome, this self-doubt. It seems impossible to get out of, I think sometimes, and it's always probably a constant battle to do that because it comes in so quickly and you don't even realize it until you're in it. um, but I think for me, it's like I feel the most empowered when, honestly, when I can recognize that and be like, not today. And just, you know, and I think that's a part of it. It's being able to be aware when those things are happening. So you can come back to yourself. And like, and really, it's really, I think I've kind of come into this, again, this freedom, real, like true freedom of expression, not just as an actor, but like as me. I think I'm becoming more of that myself. Because I think that was a struggle for me for a while. Like I tapped into that very quickly when I was doing theater. And that was my outlet for that. And I think it was also because there is such a joy for me to like tell other stories, um, and to, you know, kind of get into the work of that and figure this other character out. But it wasn't translating to myself. Like I had, you know, I was very, and still feel that way sometimes, but like just insecure, and the self-doubt comes in and the comparison. And, you know, anytime I'm unemployed, that niggling thought that's like, oh, you're never going to work again comes in every single time. But it is like, I have to remind myself, hold on. Like, and also get the reassurance from friends and family and people that I trust. That helps a lot too. And my manager, because I recently had this talk with my manager, my agent, And I was honest with them. I think that's the other thing. It's be not trying to fight it, not trying to fight like, oh, or be in denial of like, I'm not doubting myself. I'm not this, but being like, yeah, I am right now, and talking to somebody about it. And they were the two that I was kind of the most nervous to talk to about it, because again, it went back to that I need to be perfect. I can't show any flaws, or they're going to dump me, or, things like that. And I kind of lived that way for a really long time with them, until finally I was like, you know what? I'm not perfect. And I have insecurities and all that stuff. So being able to say that to them, and then my manager's like, since I've known you, you've worked. And I'm like, well, you're right.
Good point.
Okay, fine.
Well, and Crystal, I think that's the beauty of having you on here with Empowered Soul Network is you followed your passion and you made it work. And New York is not a small feat to navigate, to make it financially work, and everybody's hustling, and there's a gajillion people walking by you every day, and to be able to do that, it's just a testament to following one's dream. As we wrap up here, um, I remembered again the story you told me recently about talking to Mr. May's class.
Uh,
Mr. May was Crystal and Sandra's high school drama teacher, and every year he puts on a couple of musicals as they do in high school. And Crystal had just finished Beauty and the Beast on a tour, and they were now going to perform Beauty and the Beast, and so Crystal got on Zoom with him, right? Can you tell us a little story, but especially what was it like to share with these young kids coming up and dreaming and and all that?
I mean, it was cool and a little surreal to be talking to this kind of future generation of kids at that high school that I had my first show at. I did my first musical there. And so I actually was a little nervous myself, because you want to be impactful and you're like, and they're kids, they're high school kids. And so at first they're all sitting in their auditorium, and it's right before this dress rehearsal they're going to have. And some of them are in costume already. And, I think I'm on this big like screen that Mr. May has set up with his computer. And so I say hi to everybody. And at first it's like a typical thing where, they didn't really, they said hi, they were friendly, but there was no real questions or anything. And as we continued to talk and things like that, then, hands started being raised, and then they asked me to, I think one kid, he ended up shouting out, he's like, sing a song. And so I started singing something from Beauty and the Beast. And it was like a spur of the moment thing. I just started singing, and they were like, and it just was really fun. And they at the end of it, had a really good time. And I really liked it too. It's really, I don't know. I think that's part of the purpose, my purpose too, is to share. That's why I do it. It's to, one of my favorite things about it is because I get to share with people, and have them relate to something, or have them relate to a story that I'm sharing or telling, or yeah, I think that's probably one of my favorite parts. But I had this other thought too, before you asked me that question. It made me realize that we all fit somewhere. Like, we all have a place. Every single person on this planet has a place, because we're all like unique. And that was really important for me. It was like, because we all want to belong. I think that's something that's been really true for me too. I just want to belong. And when I feel like I don't belong, I'm like, well, no, that's not exactly true. I belong somewhere. We do. We all fit in. We all do. We don't have to try.
Any wrap up thoughts, Sandra?
Well, no, I was just sitting here thinking that, you're so real and so authentic and just like putting out it is what I is what I is kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that that's very valuable to people. That's very impactful to the people that are listening to this, because it's not about being perfect, and you illustrating that and giving like space for people to go like, oh, okay. I can acknowledge that I can be that way too, and I'm still can be empowered. I really appreciated that thing that you mentioned about just being recognizing, just even
Mhm.
recognizing that's empowerment and
Yeah.
being able to call it out.
And
So
being like, you know what, I am. And guess what? That's okay.
yeah, yeah.
And I think the final thoughts for me too, Crystal, are just which is what the purpose of one of the purposes of a Power Soul Network is to provide some inspiration and some hope for people. And so you sharing your story, I mean, as you were talking about Mr. May's class and, inspiring those kids, and so on, Beauty and the Beast, I was reminded when we saw you out there at Tuacahn and all the little girls come dressed in their yellow bell outfit. And there's just this incredible buzz from these 5-year-olds and 10-year-olds and how they just line up afterwards to come and say hello to you. And it's that inspiration of what telling our story or helping a story be told is really all about. And I'm hoping that everybody that's watching this is taking this in, because whether it's writing your book or coming on and doing one of these interviews like Crystal is and sucking it up and taking a deep breath and shaking off the nerves and letting Sandra ask a question and whatever it is, it's that inspiration that people need to hear out there. Like you said, Crystal, there's 8 billion people out there and they all want to feel connected somehow. Any final words, Crystal? Any last thoughts as we wrap up?
I think what I was just thinking about was that people, I, I think I found like as an artist, yeah, like you would normally just think, oh yeah, they're very creative. But like that's a word that can apply to anyone. I think everybody's creative. Like my husband does coding. That's a creation in and of itself, like that I had known nothing about. But but it is another form of being creative. Um, and so, that was a thought. And then the last thought is, support the arts. Really
Yes.
important. They're really important, and I think they're undervalued um, in the world. And if people, I think, just sat back and realized how much the arts affect people, whether it's TV, film, live theater, concerts, like that is something that feeds our soul. And so it needs a lot of support.
What a way to wrap it up. What a way to wrap it up. Crystal, yeah, thank you so much. This was just
It was
just a
fun.
thrill. If you weren't somebody that I knew, this would have been amazing. Knowing you was even more amazing. But this is just a real beautiful interview and heartfelt, and I think a lot of people are going to enjoy seeing it. So thank you so much for being on. Sandra, any final things?
Nope, just looking forward to making faces at you again after we go off live.
Yay.
Yes, yes. All right, everybody. Empowered Soul Network. That wraps it up for a Wednesday evening. Got more stuff coming tomorrow. Have a special thing that's coming up in our network on Friday. It's going to be a big meet and greet. So make sure you connect in with the posting for all that and register for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Crystal, thank you.
Thank
Sandra,
you.
see you. Stick
Thank you,
around. We'll
Crystal.
we'll
Thank you so
finish off here and just wrap it up.